Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening from. Welcome to the Change Management Simplified podcast, where we will explain and discuss what change management is really about, using real examples alongside principles of change management based on our experiences on projects, transformations, change initiatives, and of course, the home experiences as well. Hi, welcome back to the Change Management Simplified podcast. This is episode 14, and we will be focusing on managing change resistance. Previously, last week, we covered in episode 13 the top 10 habits and signs of a bad leader. And we are going to continue with that same perspective, speaking or discussing from a leader's perspective, a change management practitioner perspective, or a sponsor or transformation lead. And thank you for coming back, for listening to this episode. I'm hoping that you're finding them relatable and enjoyable. Hence, you're back. Please continue to subscribe, to like, so that I actually get a sense that you are enjoying this. But thank you, those on Spotify and also on YouTube. One reminder. So for my listeners on Google Podcast, I'm not sure if you received a notification as well, but that will be decommissioned in Europe, I believe, or in the UK, by beginning of July or in July. So if you are listening from Google Podcasts, please switch to Spotify. It's free. I'm advertising for Spotify now. It's Spotify. It's free for you to listen to. You just don't need to download the app, and you will find me there. Just search for Change Management Simplified as well. And I believe those in the US, Google Podcast has already been decommissioned since April. Please, again, you can find me on either on YouTube or on Spotify as well. Now, the question in front of me: how do I manage change resistance? Now, I received this from one of the listeners who reflected on the episode that I did last week, which was the top 10 bad habits of habits and signs of a bad leader. And they wanted me to also focus on how do I manage change resistance. Well, first and foremost, I'd like you to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate this phrase. Yes, it's actually a big phrase. Change resistance is probably one of the most difficult topic or scenarios that I usually face on projects. Reason being that, one, you are dealing with people. So what you need to do is break it down, change, understand what that change is about, that initiative, the project, what is it about? How does it impact them? And then the resistance will naturally come. It will be there. Let nobody tell you that you will not face change resistance. Regardless of how many tools and strategies you put in place, you will always face change resistance because, yet again, as I said it before, people do not like change. Even myself sometimes, as even though I'm a change practitioner, for example, I don't like it when Teams rolls out these new updates that don't make sense, that Microsoft Teams that don't make sense. They sometimes push through updates and they make the quick, the quick tabs that you use, those little quick functions that you were using and familiar with, and they disappear. They put them somewhere where they don't even tell you where they are. However, that's my event about Microsoft Teams updates. That's not the topic for today. So the to- the the reason why change resistance is a big topic, because you have a difficult job, and I'm not gonna play it down. It is difficult trying to convince people to come with you on this change initiative, on this journey, so that you can actually implement it successfully for them, for the company, and for yourself. That is a massive undertaking to take on, and hence I'm always hired or recruited on change initiatives as a change management practitioner. In some cases, sometimes I do project management, but here I'm speaking from a change practitioner. So it keeps me and it gives me a job. So what do? or what have I found from my experience? I have found four groups of typical change resistors, and I've made this up myself because I've observed them and I've categorized them, and I always reflect on these groups in every single project that I work on. One, the first group of change resistors is, I call them the bulldozers. These ones, oh, have so much energy. They make you smile, but they also make you feel like, oh, I need to tame you. I need to contain this energy. One, because they get very excited about the change and they start going above and beyond, but also lose focus of the objective and the purpose of the change initiative. And this usually happens in IT delivery guys or engineers because they just naturally, due to their personality and their nature of work, they create stuff. You really have to work closely with them to get the right balance between them actually focusing and configuring what has been scoped out versus all these additional things that they're thinking about while they're brainstorming, which sometimes is not value add to the customer or the end user, or impacted stakeholder at that point in time. They will start to face, or they will start to show the behavior of change resistance because they sometimes feel like you are not valuing what they're adding, when they're going above and beyond, and therefore they become demotivated and you lose the creativity that they would have had if you just gave them that environment to do what they want to do. However, it's not about what they want to do, it's about what we need to do to deliver the objective we set out to. The second group of change resistors are the pretenders. Now, these ones are a very clever bunch. They pretend that they're on board with the change, but they don't trust it will actually come to fruition. It will not be a success. So they will always potentially just give you 50 to 60% of their focus, but they will spend the other percentage on creating their own tool, or working on the existing one to make just to get the comfort that they still have a backup plan if your system doesn't go live or not ready on time. Now, these ones are they're not resisting to change. Usually, this behavior is triggered because of their previous experience on previous rollouts, and you cannot blame them. This happens a lot in companies. We start a project and we never finish it, and then teams have to revert back to what they used to do before, and that leaves them little time to work towards their deliverables, especially when they have external submissions, maybe on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis. So you can't blame them for having that attitude. So you need to acknowledge and accept that, but find a way to work with them to give them that confidence that you're going to get this project delivered for them in time. The other group, or the third group of change resistors, I call them the promisers. These ones overpromise but under-deliver. They will promise to be involved in UAT. They will never say no to anything that you ask them to. However, they will never be available to, for example, be involved in UAT. They won't be available to review their requirements or sign off their requirements because they're too busy. Um, and the classic examples they'll give you is, I don't have capacity. I don't have a person who's going to look at the requirements to confirm. At the end of the day, I'll say to them, well, I need your sign off. If you don't sign off your requirements, we'll descope them, and I will, raise it as an operational issue on our project, and therefore will be shared with the project steering committee. That might get their attention, and they will somehow create time. Secondly, sometimes I'll say, my team's not available to be involved in UAT. You kind of think, come on, this is a tool for you. And if you're not involved in UAT, how are you going to get comfort that what we've actually delivered is what you scoped out to? How are you going to feed back to us for improvements? How are you going to get your teams to start upskilling and getting a look and feel of their system, but also yourself? And you can only get that comfort from your team actively being involved in this UAT. So watch out for these ones. They will always find a reason not to be involved, but they will always be vocal. Why things are not going as well as they should be going. Number four, or the fourth group of change resistors, I call them the avoiders. These ones will avoid you. They'll even see me from the other end of the corridor, and they will branch off in one of the other corridors in between, not to talk to me, because I'm just going to be asking them, how come you're not turning up for meetings? What is it that, why are you not turning up for UAT? Why are you not involved in discussions? They will have reasons not to be involved. Even when you have invited them, you've tried to engage them, you've communicated to them, they won't respond to your emails. They don't want to take ownership of anything. They don't want to contribute to any discussions. They would want you to go away with your change. Um, and they will ultimately hope and sometimes pray that this project just ends up being canned by the leadership team, and therefore they don't have to do anything about it and you will disappear. These ones I call them the deniers as well. However, when you look at the change curve, we do have these guys stuck in denial that this change is happening. And when you have that group of people on the change curve, you can't move forward. So the fact that these are all your four stakeholder groups, you've identified them and you care that they are on board and engaged, you need to do something about it. You don't give up. You have to do something about it and engage them. So what happens usually when a transformation leader or change practitioner faces such a scenario with these four groups? In most cases, they will end up actually taking this feedback very personal. What I'm saying to you is, do not take this feedback personal. Do not take their behavior or receive their behavior to resistance to the change as a personal view to you, or they don't like you. It's not the case. I know some of you tend to do so, and then you make it look like that they're being awkward, they're resisting the change, they don't want to be part of it, they're an obstacle to the success of your project or to the company. What I have to say to you is, first and foremost, to overcome this resistance, you need to take yourself out of this picture. You need to take the company out of this picture, and you need to speak their language. You need to put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, why are these four groups resistance to the change? The resistance, it's a surface behavior, and you have to get underneath it. You have to look beyond and above what they're actually showing you on the surface. You need to have candid conversations with them. For example, I come across the avoiders very often on projects. I've had to sit down and have a candid conversation with them, an impromptu one, by the way. If you schedule a meeting, they won't turn up or will keep moving. Just a general one. Or by the coffee machine. I like doing that. Random impromptu discussions, not in a formal way, but just in a very free setting. Pop into their into their office and just say, "Can I have 5 minutes of your time? Just wanted to ask, why do you keep avoiding being part of this project? Am I missing something? Or am I, what have I done not for you not to feel like you want to be part of this change?" You will be surprised that they'll be taken back by the fact that you're asking them this question, but two, the fact that you actually noticed and took time to come and actually to want to hear why they don't feel like they want to go on this change journey with you. They will talk to you and be open to you. Um, Listen, out of those 30 minutes that they're talking to you, out of that, 10 minutes will give you the reason why they really don't feel like they want to be part of this change and therefore have been avoiding you. And through that, talk to them and convince them and come up with a strategy that will make them feel involved, empowered, but for them also to see what's in it for them. So it's important that you put yourself in their shoes, understand what's in it for them, because if you know that core aspect of their resistance, you can come up with a change management plan as well as a strategy that can help you execute and help mitigate or reduce. I won't use the word mitigate. Mitigate is difficult to accomplish in, on a change project with change resistance, but at least to reduce and to overcome the change resistance, for them to feel like they can walk this journey with them and they have a future, in this company, even when the project is finished. So, in a nutshell, this comes down to three things. One is going to come down to your leadership. If you're too proud to talk and make extra time and effort to reach out to these four groups of change resistors, then you're missing out an opportunity to actually interact with these individuals and understand where the core resistance is coming from, the underlying root cause. It's like you're trying to fix, I don't know, a broken pipe, but patching it up, but actually not realizing that maybe the pipe was actually broken by the extensive pressure of the water being pushed out, which is too strong for the actual size of the pipe that you actually used, and therefore you need to go back a step further. So understand the root cause of their change resistance. Look beyond the surface. Look underneath that surface. Try and understand why they behave in the way they are. Lead by example. It's important that you're the bigger person. And as I said before, don't take their feedback personal, because also they might have historical experiences that this is just one of those that's just resurfaced all those memories. So be open, be engaging, and address any concerns that they might raise, and make them feel like you're hearing them, you're listening to them, not just hearing, but listening and putting solutions in place where they've highlighted these concerns. Number two is about influence. You need to continuously influence these individuals to be able to come on board on this change journey, for them to be able to feel like they can contribute, to be able to feel like they can engage with you without feeling like they're undermined or undervalued. It's important that you show that you value each stakeholder and value their opinion and their feedback, but also counter them with constructive feedback or solutions, especially if it's not in line with the vision or the objective of the change initiative. Thirdly, change management. Yes, to your surprise, I'm hoping actually it's not to your surprise, change management is very much about managing change resistance, or the other way around, change resistance is a big component of change management. Without you facing change resistance, I wouldn't be employed on the project, because it comes down to me preparing the stakeholders and giving them the right tools, having the right activities, and ensuring that they are up to speed to be able to pick up on these tools or utilize these tools when we roll them out and go live. So make sure you put people, stakeholders, stroke end users at the heart of your change management strategy. It's not just about just configuring a system and putting it out there and say to people, here, use it. No, the number of sub steps that have to be taken to continuously keep these individuals engaged, actively involved, gradually building that knowledge, upskilling them over time to prepare them for that date when you actually want them and need them to, one, to test it, and two, to utilize it. So it's important that you keep those communication avenues open, remain approachable, and be present when they have questions. Be there to clarify any miscommunication and misunderstanding of the objective and the vision that this project or change initiative brings. Hopefully you've this has been helpful to you or interesting. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me a question, and I'll be more than happy to include it in my upcoming episode. Thank you.
If you find this podcast beneficial or interesting, please press follow, like, or subscribe. Lastly, and of course, don't forget to spread the word by sharing. Thank you for listening.